Okay. God damn it. Why isn't it loading? Bruh. Anyways. Hi. Good evening. Hold on. I can hear myself. Gross. Okay. Anyways. Hi. Sorry about taking like forever on the starting soon screen. I needed to get more water. Yeah, that's kind of it. And also my YouTube studio wasn't working for a little bit. Hey, can we consider not hitting the fan? It's a pain to clean it up. You got me there. However, unfortunately, I should make myself a little bit larger. That's what I should do. Oh, there it is. It loaded again. Let's make myself look like that. There we go. Yay! We're here! Finally! Yippee! Yay! Okay. Yeah, so this is the chapter where Sinclair has everything terrible happen to him, and he's like, damn, I'm gonna turn to alcoholism. This is in fact a thing that happens. Where are we? Let's see. Am I in the right place? I swear it is this chapter. Guys, I kind of lost myself. Call me Sinclair the way I lost myself. Let me go back to the very top. Beatrice. There we go. We're at the right place now. You have me at alcoholism. Where do I sign up? Nowhere, because that's bad for you, bro. My wires, when they're tangled again. Okay. It's okay. We're good now, I think. Are we? We're good. Okay. Yeah. How old is he? When he converts to alcoholism as if it's a religion. When he starts his alcoholism, it is like he's like 16 to 18, I think. It's around that point. But it's Germany, so it's like okay for him to be an alcoholic at 16. Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna drink water because I feel gross right now. You won't marry me? You reject me now? You tell me my lifestyle unhealthy? How dare you? I'm just looking out for you, bruh. I'll bite. Okay. Okay. And I'll punch you in the face. Yeah. welcome to whatever this rivalry is. I don't even know anymore. Yeah. Okay. Look at my mouse. Can you see my cursor? Yeah, you can. This is me going bop 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 bop. No. Oh, never mind. I don't like pain. Yeah. Good job. You back off. Yeah. Back off like Cosmez, like Paradox Live. No, guys, get into Paradox Live. I would do a Paradox Live reading stream, but the problem is I don't want what happened to the Charisma house to happen again because it was spooky and scary. Okay. Clickbait worthy rivalry. Yeah. The Renata situation is this crazy? No. Just kidding. Okay. Here we go. This one is a longer chapter, a little bit by like 10 pages. I don't like paradoxes neither. Welp. Darn. What if they're live though? Riddle me this. What if they're live, does that make it better? I sure hope so. Anyways. Without having seen my friend again, I traveled at the end of the holidays to St. Both my parents came with me and handed me over with all possible care to the protection of a master of a school, in whose house I was to board. They would have been numb with horror had they only known what sort of fate they were leaving me. It still hung in the balance whether I should become, with time, a good son and useful citizen, or whether my nature would break out in other directions. My last attempt to be happy under the roof of my father's house and the spirit prevailing there had lasted for a considerable period, and attempts had almost succeeded, only in the end to fail completely. The curious emptiness and isolation which I had begun to feel for the first time in the holidays after my confirmation, I learned to know it later, this emptiness, this thin atmosphere, did not pass immediately. The parting from home was for me peculiarly easy. I was really ashamed of not being sadder. My sisters wept without reason. I could not. I was astonished at myself. I had always been an emotional child, and at bottom tolerably good. Now I was quite changed. I was completely indifferent towards the outside world. For days together, my sole occupation was hearkening to my inner self, listening to the flood of dark, forbidden instincts which roared subterraneously within me. I had grown very quickly in that last half year, and appeared lanky, thin, and immature. The amiability of my boyhood had completely disappeared from my character. I realized myself that it was impossible to like me thus, and I by no means loved myself. I had often a great longing for Max Damian. Why is Damian the bus driver? On the other hand, I hated him not seldom, and looked upon him as responsible for the moral impoverishment of my life, to which I resigned myself as to a sort of nasty disease. Damian the bus driver. Like, what? Like, I get talking about your family, but, man, I guess it makes sense, like, this part, when you add it at the very end, it makes sense, but at the same time, it feels really shoehorned in. Because why not? You got me there. Why not talk about Max Damian? You know, I still can't believe his first name is Max. Like, okay, man. In the beginning, I was neither liked nor respected in our school boarding house. First, they ragged me, then kept out of my way, looking upon me as a rotter and an eccentric character. I was pleased with myself, and I even overplayed my part, withdrawing into my solitary self, growling occasional cynicisms. Superficially, I appeared to despise the world in most manly fashion, whereas in reality I was secretly consumed by melancholy and despair. In school, I could fall back on a knowledge amassed at home. The form I was in was not so advanced as the same form in the school I had just left, and so I acquired the habit of despising my school contemporaries, regarding them as mere children. This attitude lasted a year and longer. My first holiday visit to home brought no change. I went gladly away again. It was in the beginning of November. I had formed this habit of taking short meditative walks in all kinds of weather, during which I often experienced a sort of joy, a joy full of melancholy, contempt of the world, and a contempt of self. I was sauntering thus one evening through the damp, foggy twilight in the suburb of the town. The broad drive of a public park stood completely deserted, inviting me to enter. The road lay thick with fallen leaves, into which I dug voluptuously with my feet. It smelled damp and bitter. In the distance the trees stood up tall and shadowy, ghost-like in the fog. At the end of the drive, I stood still and undecided, staring into the black foliage, scenting eagerly the damp odor of decomposition and death, which seemed to be in harmony with my own mood. Oh, how insipid life tasted! A man with the collar of his raincoat blowing about him came out of a side path. I was just going on when he called to me. "Hello, Sinclair!" It appeared to be Alphonse Beck, the senior boy of the house. I was always glad to see him and had nothing against him, except that he always treated me as he did all the younger boys, in an ironical and grandfatherly manner. He passed for being as strong as a bear, was said to have great influence on the housemaster, and was the hero of many school stories. Dark forest? Oh my gosh. Bro is going to the outskirts? What? "What are you doing here?" he asked affably, in the tone the seniors always used when they condescended on occasion to talk to us. "Composing verse, I bet?" "Shouldn't dream of it," I exclaimed gruffly. He laughed, came up to me, and we chatted together in a manner to which I had not been accustomed for some time past. You needn't be afraid, Sinclair, that I shouldn't understand. I know the feeling, when one goes for a walk on a foggy evening, the thoughts autumn inspires in one. And one writes poetry about dying nature, of course, and spent youth, which is very much like it. Read Heinrich Heine? I am not so sentimental, I said in self-defense. Oh, all right, but in this weather, I think, it does a man good to find a quiet place where one can take up a glass of wine or something. Are you coming with me for a bit? I happen to be quite alone. Or wouldn't you care to? I wouldn't like to lead you astray, old man, if you were one of those model boys. A little while after we sat clinking our thick glasses in a little tavern at the suburbs, drinking wine of doubtful quality. At first I wasn't much pleased, still it was rather a novelty for me. But unaccustomed to wine, I soon became talkative. It was as if a window had been flung open within me, and the world shining in, for how long, how terribly wrong, had I not eased my heart by talking. I gave my full play to my imagination, and once started, I related the story of Cain and Abel. Beck listened to me with pleasure, someone at last to whom I was giving something. He clapped me on the shoulder, told me I was the devil of a good fellow and a clever rascal, how I reveled in communicating my opinions as I relieved myself of all the pent-up thought of the past months. My heart swelled with pride at finding my talents recognized by someone older than I was. When he called me a clever rascal, the effect was like a sweet, strong wine running through me. The world lit up in new colors. Thoughts came to me as from 100 sources. Wit and fire blazed up in me. We spoke of masters and schoolfellows, and I thought we understood one another wonderfully well. We talked of Greeks and of pagans, and Beck wished absolutely to draw me out on the subject of women. But on this point I could not converse. I had no experience, nothing to relate. True, all that I had felt and imagined was burning within me, but I could not impart my thoughts, not even under the influence of wine. Beck knew much more about girls, and I listened to his tales with glowing eyes. The things I heard were unbelievable. What I should never have conceived to be possible entered the sphere of commonplace reality and seemed self-evident. Alphonse Beck, who was perhaps 18 years old, was already a man of experiences. Among other things, he told me that girls liked boys to play the gallant with them, but in general were too frightened to go any further. You could hope for more success with women. Women were much cleverer. For instance, there was Mrs. Jaggles, who sold pencils and copybooks, but was much easier to deal with. All that had happened behind the counter in her shop was unprintable in any book. I sat on captivated, my head was swimming. To be sure, I could not exactly have loved Mrs. Yakult, but still, it was unheard of. It seemed as if things happened, at least to older people, of which I had never dreamed. There was a false ring about it, to be sure. Everything seemed more trivial and commonplace, and did not coincide with my own ideals about love. But still, it was reality. It was love and adventure. Someone sat next to me who had lived an experience to whom it seemed a matter of course. Yeah, because he was busy being down bad with Damien. Yeah. Like, it's kind of hard to think about women when there's like this random guy in front of you who you keep spending all your time with, who you constantly think about all the time. Like, Sinclair, that's, like, the one time he's not thinking about Damien. The one time. Our conversation had reached a lower level, had deteriorated. I was no longer a clever little fellow. I was just a mere boy listening to a man. But even then, in comparison with what my life had been for months and months, this was delicious. This was heaven. Besides, as I gradually began to realize, all this was forbidden, absolutely forbidden, everything from sitting in a public house down to the subject of our own conversation. In any case, I thought I was showing spirit. I was in revolt. I can recollect that night with the greatest clearness. We both of us wended our way home at a late hour under the dimly burning glass lamps through the cool, damp night, and for the first time in my life I was drunk. It was not agreeable. It was in the highest degree unpleasant, but there was a sort of charm about it, a sweetness. It smacked of orgy and revolt, of spirit and life. Beck bravely took me in hand, and although he grumbled at me as being a bloody novice, he half carried, half dragged me home, where, by good fortune, he was able to smuggle us both through a window which stood open on the ground floor. But a maddening pang accompanied the sobering up as I painfully awoke after a short heavy sleep. I sat up in bed and saw that I was still wearing my shirt. My clothes and shoes lay around about on the floor, smelling of tobacco and vomit. And between headache, nausea, and a maddening thirst, a picture came before my mind on which I had not set eyes for many a long day. I saw my home, the house where dwelt my parents. I saw father and mother, my sisters in the garden. I saw my peaceful, homely bedroom, the school and the marketplace, Damien in the confirmation class. And all this was bright, lustrous, all was wonderful, godly, and pure. All that, I realized now, had until yesterday belonged to me, had waited for me. But now, in this hour, it is mine no longer. It spurned me and looked upon me with disgust. All that was loving and intimate, all that I had received from my parents since the first golden days of my childhood, each kiss mother had given me, each Christmas, each godly bright Sunday morning there was at home, each flower in the garden, all that was laid waste, I had trampled on it all with my foot. If the police had come for me then and had bound me and led me away to the gallows as a desecrator and as a scum of humanity, I should have gone gladly. I would have found it right and fitting. That was the state of my feelings. I, who had gone about despising the world, I, who had been so proud in spirit and who had shared Damien's thoughts, so I appeared a filthy pig, to be classed with the scum of the earth, drunk and befouled, disgusting and common, a dissolute beast carried away by abominable instincts. Oh my gosh. So I appeared, I who had came from those gardens whose bright flowers had been purity and sweet gentleness, I who had loved box music and beautiful poetry. I could still hear, with aversion and disgust, my own laugh, the drunken, uncontrolled, convulsive, and silly laugh which escaped me. That was I. But in spite of everything, there was a certain enjoyment in suffering these torments. I had lived for so long a blind, dull existence, for so long had my heart been silent, impoverished, and shut up, that even this self-accusation, this self-aversion, this entirely dreadful feeling was welcome. At least it was feeling. Flowers were flaring up. Emotion was quivering therein. I experienced in the midst of my misery a confused sensation of liberation, of the approach of spring. However, as far as outward appearances went, I was going fast down the hill. The first debauch was soon followed by others. There was much drinking at school, and the other things not in accord with my study. I was among the youngest who carried on in this way, but from being just tolerated and looked upon as a mere youngster, I soon rose to be considered as a leader and a star. I was renowned as a daredevil and could drink with the best. Once again, I belonged entirely to the dark world, to the devil, and I passed in this world for being a splendid fellow. But at the same time, I was in a pitiful state of mind. I lived in a world of self-destroying debauchery. I can read. I know how to pronounce words. And while I was looked up to by my friends and as leader of the devil, a good fellow, as a cursed, witty, and spirited drinking companion, my anxious soul was full of apprehension. I remember on one occasion tears started to my eyes when, on coming out of a tavern one Sunday morning, I saw children playing in the street, bright and contented, with freshly combed hair and in their Sunday clothes. And while I amused and often terrified my friends with monstrous cynicism, as we sat at dirty tables stained with puddles of beer, in low public houses, I had in my heart a secret, deep reverence for everything at which I scoffed. Inwardly, I was weeping bitterly at the thought of my past life, of my mother, of God. There was a good reason for the fact that I was never one with my companions, that I remained lonely even in their midst, that I suffered in the manner above described. I was a hero of drinking bouts, but the roughest of them. I was a scoffer after their own heart. I showed courage and wit in my ideas and in my talks about masters, school, parents, the church. I listened to their smutty stories unflinchingly and even ventured one or two myself, but I was never about when my boon companions went off with girls. I remained behind alone, filled with an ardent desire for love, a hopeless longing, whereas to judge from my conversation I must have been a hardened rake. No one was more vulnerable, no one more chaste than I. And when from time to time I saw young girls pass by in the town, pretty and clean, bright and charming, they seemed to me like wonderful, pure dream women, 1,000 times too good and too pure for me. For a long time, I could not bring myself to enter Mrs. Yagel's stationery shop, because I blushed when I saw her and thought of what Alphonse Beck had told me about her. The more I realized how different I was from the members of my new set, how isolated I was in their midst, the less easy was it for that very reason to break with them. I do not really know whether the toping and bragging ever caused me much pleasure, and I could never so accustom myself to hard drinking that I did not feel the painful consequences after each bout. I was as if coerced into doing this. I did because I had so, because I was otherwise absolutely ignorant of a course to follow. I knew not where to begin. I was afraid of being long alone. I was frightened of the many tender, chaste, intimate moods to which I constantly felt myself inclined. I was afraid of the tender notions of love which so often came to me. One thing I lacked most of all, a friend. There were 2 or 3 schoolfellows whom I liked very much, but they belonged to the good set, and my vices had for a long time been a secret to no one. They avoided me. Withal I passed for a hopeless gamester under whose feet the very earth quaked. The masters knew much about me. Severe punishments were several times inflicted on me. My final expulsion from the school was waited for with more or less certainty. I knew that myself. For a long time I had ceased to be a good pupil. I got through my work by hook or by crook, with the feeling that the state of affairs could not last much longer. There are many ways by which God can make us feel lonely and lead us to a consciousness of ourselves. With me it was in this way. It was like a bad dream, in which I saw myself ostracized, foul and clammy, creeping restlessly and painfully over broken beer glasses, down an abominably unclean road. There are such dreams, when you imagine you have set out to find a beautiful princess, but you stick in stinking back streets full of rubbish and dirty puddles. Oh my god. I keep stuttering. I need to, slow down, but I physically cannot slow down when I read books, because, my mind reads them so fast that take a minute to breathe, yeah, that my mouth, needs to catch up between where my mind is and where, my mouth is supposed to be. There's, too much, a distance. Okay, so it was with me. In this scarcely refined way, I was destined to become lonely, and to put between myself and my childhood a locked door of Eden over against which stood merciless sentinels on guards and beaming rays of light. It doesn't help that the sentences themselves are also really long. We just, sped through, 3 pages. I did not mean to do that. I'm so sorry, guys, if it's, hard to keep up. It is entirely my fault. The fault lies with me. I was going to say, stop every period. The thing is, I think I am, but then the pause is, too slow. But I don't see a period in sight. Yeah, it's also the sentence length that's kind of, getting to me. Okay. In this scarcely refined way, I was destined to become lonely, and to put between myself and my childhood a locked door of Eden over against— I already read that sentence. Okay. It was a beginning, an awakening of that homesickness, that longing to return to my true self. I was terribly frightened when my father, alarmed by a letter from my housemaster, appeared for the first time insane, beep, and faced me unexpectedly. When he came for the second time, towards the end of that winter, I was hard and indifferent. I let him heap blame on me. I let him beg me to think of my mother. I was unmoved. Finally, he grew very angry and said that if I did not turn over a new leaf, he would have me disgraced and chased out of school, and would have me placed in a reformatory. Little I cared! When he went away, I felt sorry for him, but he had accomplished nothing. He had found no approach to me, and for a few moments I felt that it served him right. I was indifferent as to what might become of me. My peculiar and unlovely manner, with my carrying on and my frequenting of public houses, I was at odds with the world. This was my way of protesting. I was ruining myself thereby, but what of it? Sometimes the case presented itself to me in this wise. If the world had no use for such as me, if there is no better place for us, if there are no higher duties, then people like myself simply went to the devil. So much the worse for the world. The Christmas holidays of that year were exceedingly unpleasant. My mother was terrified when she saw me again. I had grown taller, and my thin face looked gray and ravaged by dissipation, with flabby features and inflamed rings around the eyes. The first indications of a mustache, and the spectacles which I had but lately taken to wearing, made me look stranger still. My sisters stared back and giggled when they saw me. It was all very unpleasant. Unpleasant was the conversation with my father in his study. Oh, speeding up again. Unpleasant the greeting of a couple of relations. Unpleasant above all things the Christmas night. That has been since my birth the great day of our house, the evening of festivity and love, of gratitude, of the renewal of the bond between my parents and myself. This time, everything was depressing and embarrassing. As usual, my father read the portion of the gospel about the shepherds in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. As usual, my sister stood radiantly before the table on which the presents were laid out. But my father's voice was sad, and he looked old and constrained. Mother wasn't happy. For me, everything was equally painful and unwished for. Presents and good wishes, gospel and Christmas tree. The gingerbread smelled delicious and exhaled thick clouds of sweet remembrances. The Christmas tree was fragrant and told of things which no longer existed. Which existed no longer. Okay. I longed for the end of the evening and of the holidays. Breathe. I know, I keep going too fast. I can't help myself. Oh my gosh. Imagine taking that out of context. Just kidding. The blue guy. Also, hello, Arisu. We are like 10 pages. We are like 13 pages in, I think. Because I keep going way too fast. Oopsie daisy. Okay. Breathing. So passed the whole winter. It was not long before I was severely reprimanded by the faculty and threatened with expulsion. Also, the mic is a bit quiet. I got you. I got you, bro. Let's lower that by a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean like 10 decibels. Is this any better? Are we vibing? Are we chilling? Is this good? Let me know right now. I would take another sip of water, but I just took a sip of water, and overhydration is bad for you, okay? Music up 4. Okay. There we go. Okay. Is this better? How are we thinking? La 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 la. Audio test. Audio test. Re-audio test. La 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 la. Okay. What if I like read another paragraph? So passed the whole winter. It was not long before I was severely reprimanded by the faculty and threatened with expulsion. It could not last much longer. Well, it made no difference to me. I had a special grudge against Max Damian, whom I had not seen for the whole of this period. In my first time at St. Beep, I had written to him twice, but had received no reply. For that reason, I had not paid him a visit in the holidays. A lot better? Great. Okay. So we continue. Page 99 out of 111, I think? 100 and something in the teens. I don't know. In the same park where I had met Alphonse Buck in the autumn, it chanced that in the first days of spring, just as the thorn hedges were beginning to turn green, a girl attracted my attention. I was out for a walk by myself, full of gnawing cares and thoughts, for my health was bad. Besides that, I was in continual financial embarrassment. I owed various sums to my friends and had to invent excuses to procure some money from home. In several shops, I had to run up accounts for cigars and such things. Not that these cares were very pressing. If the end of my school career was approaching, and if I drowned myself or was sent to a reform school, these trifles would not make much difference either. But I was nevertheless constantly facing these unpleasant things, and I suffered from it. Just like his time with Cromer. Fun fact. If you think about this does go back to the beginning of the book when he was in his depths with Cromer. Haha, wink. So that's a thing to compare and contrast. In case you guys are paying attention at home, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Cromer. On that spring day in the park, I met a girl who had a strong attraction for me. She was tall and slender, elegantly dressed, and had a wise, boyish face. She pleased me at once. She belonged to the type that I loved, and she began to work upon my imagination. She was scarcely older than I, but she was more mature. She was elegant and possessed a good figure, already almost a woman, but with a touch of youthful exuberance in her features, which pleased me exceedingly. It was never my good fortune to approach a girl with whom I could have fallen in love. Neither was it my luck in this case. But the impression was deeper than all the former ones, and the influence of this infatuation on my life was powerful. Hey, just jumping on to say have a nice stream. Gotta get back to practicing the new Mealy song. Bye-bye. Bye-bye! I'm excited to hear your new Mealy song cover. Oh my god. Exciting. Assuming you post it at any point. But assuming that I actually get to the part of the song, because I haven't listened to the full song yet. I keep listening to the first 20 seconds. Every time I see the song pop up, it is the first 20 seconds I listen to, and then I have to click away. Because I do want to experience, the song in-game first, since I'm already, on Kanto 8. So, yeah. Excitement! Anyways, thanks for dropping in! It was never my good fortune. Did I already read this part? I kind of forgot. I think I did. Suddenly I had again a picture standing before me. A revered picture. And no need. No impulse was so deep or so strong in me as the desire to revere or to adore. I gave her the name of Beatrice, of whom, without having read Dante, I knew something from an English painting, a reproduction of which I had in my possession. The picture was of an English pre-Raphaelite girlish figure, very long-limbed and slender, with a small, long head and spiritualized hands and features. My beautiful young girl did not completely resemble this, although she had the same slenderness and boyish suppleness of figure, which I loved, and sometimes with the spiritualization of the face, as if her soul lay therein. Dante? Yeah, Beatrice from the Inferno. I don't know. I haven't read the Inferno yet, so Dante mentioned. Ha ha ha. So now that we've gotten to Beatrice and like her importance in Damien, now you can think. Now you can think about what possible things Beatrice and Dante and Sinclair might have an interaction with in Limbus Company. Yeah. Ahem. I never spoke a single word to Beatrice, yet at that time she exercised the deepest influence over me. Her picture fastened itself on my mind. In my imagination, she opened the sanctuary for me. She caused me to pray in a temple. From one day to another, I remained absent from the drinking bouts and the nightly excursions. Once more, I could bear being alone. I read gladly. I liked to go for walks again. Sinclair, Beatrice, Dante, Damien, Love Square, real? Don't forget about Cromer. It's a love pentagon, bro. It just makes everything so convoluted and messy. Isn't it great? Don't you love Limbus shipping? Isn't it wonderful? I was much scoffed at for my sudden conversion, but I had now something to live and to worship. I had again an ideal. Life was once more full of suggestion, of gaily colored secret nuances, that made me insensible to the jeers of my companions. I again felt at home with myself, although I was now the servant and slave of a picture which I revered. It's actually a love sextagon, because I am there! Oh my gosh! No way! No way! A new challenger approaches? No way! I cannot think what's like the 7 version? What if we included myself? What if we included myself in this shape? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. It just keeps getting added onto over and over again. Yeah. Because there's just too much love. Septagon? I thought it would be Septagon. And then 8 is Octagon. Who wants to make it an octagon, guys? Octagon like octonauts? No, we're not thinking about the octonauts when we're reading Damien of all things. I cannot think of that time without a certain emotion. With earnest striving, I again endeavored to build a bright world out of the ruins of that period of my life which had broken up around me. I again lived entirely and single-mindedly in the desire to put away the dark and the bad, and to dwell completely in the light, on my knees before my gods. Still, this bright world I built up was to a certain extent my own creation. It was not the action of flying back or of crawling back to mother, to a security within responsibilities. It was a new service upon which I entered, invented by myself for my own requirements, the responsibilities and discipline of self. The sex consciousness from which I suffered and before which I was in constant flight was now transmuted in the sacred fire to spirit and devotion. The grim and horrible would disappear. I should grow through no more agonizing nights. There would be no more heart beatings in front of lewd pictures, no more listening at forbidden doors, no more lasciviousness. Lasciviousness, oh my god. Instead of all this, I set up my altar with the picture of Beatrice, and in dedicating myself to her, I dedicated myself to the spirit and to the gods. That part of myself which I withdrew from the powers of darkness I brought as a sacrifice to the powers of light. Not lust was my aim, but purity. Not happiness, but beauty and spirituality. Bro found out about the arts. We had so many points, we have enough polygons to 3D model Sinclair. I'll pass. I'm sadly too down bad for Dawn. The sex consciousness, heart beatings in front of pictures. You know, he's at that age, you know, where he knows of the sex consciousness, you know? He's at that age here. And the heart beatings in front of lewd pictures. Like, he's described it before. He's aware of it now. He's like acutely aware of it even, but he just hasn't done anything with it because he doesn't like women. Apparently, he secretly likes men. Wink. No. Imagine he probably does though. Just saying. But the way he talks about Damien. Anyways, this cult for Beatrice completely changed my life. A precocious cynic, but a short while before, I had now become a servant in the temple, whose aim it was to be a saint. I not only renounced the evil life to which I had accustomed myself, but I endeavored to change everything, to set myself a standard of purity, nobility, and dignity, which I even applied to eating and drinking, to my manner of speech and dress. I began each morning to wash with cold water, to the use of which I had, in the beginning, to force myself. I behaved with gravity and dignity, carried myself erect, and acquired a slower and more dignified gait. To an observer, it might have seemed rather ludicrous, but to me it was the performance of a divine worship. Okay. Won't look at Damien in a straight line, best very hard to the left. He is so like me, for real, for real. Good luck with the reading. I'm in the trenches by final study, so I can't stick around for the reading, but good luck anyways. By the way, tis I, Kospa. Hello! Welcome in, Kospa. Thank you for dropping in. We are kind of like, we are trying to get through it, but I keep stumbling over my words. Oopsie daisy. But it's fine. We're getting through it eventually. We're already on page 103. That's crazy. We started at page like what, 86? We're really getting there. We're really getting there. Of all the ways in which I sought to find expression for my new faith, one bore fruit. I began to paint. To start with, the English picture of Beatrice I had in my possession did not bear a sufficient resemblance of Beatrice. I wanted to try to paint her for myself. Full of new pleasure and hope, I carried into my room. I had recently been given a room to myself, beautiful paper, colors, and a paintbrush. I made ready my palette, porcelain bowls and glass and pencils. The fine watercolors in little tubes which I had bought captivated me. There was a bright chromic green which I think I can see yet as it flashed out for the first time from the little white tube. I began with caution. To paint a face was difficult. I wished first of all to try something else. I painted ornaments, flowers, and small landscapes from imagination, a tree near a chapel, a Roman bridge with cypresses. I often lost myself completely in this pastime. I was as happy as a child with a box of paints. At last I began to paint Beatrice. The first few attempts were abortive, and I threw them away. The more I tried to conjure up in my mind the face of the girl, whom I met from time to time in the street, the less I seemed able to transfer my impressions to paper. Finally, I gave up the idea, and began simply to paint a face according to the guidance of my imagination, a face which gradually grew out of the one already begun, as if by itself, at the mercy of color and brush. The result was the face I had dreamed of, and I was not ill pleased with it. Yet I made another essay immediately, and each new picture was clearer, and approached more neatly to the type, but was by no means like the reality. More and more I accustomed myself, in a dreamy sort of way, to draw lines with my brush, to fill in surfaces. My sketches grew out of a few strokes of the brush, out of the unconscious. At last one day I finished a face, almost unconsciously, which made a stronger appeal to me than the former ones. It was not the face of the girl, for I had long since given up the idea of trying to paint my Beatrice to the life. It was something else, something unreal, and yet not of less value for me on that account. It looked more like the head of a youth than of a girl. The hair was not blonde like that of my pretty girl, but brown with a tinge of red. The chin was strong and firm, but the mouth was red as a blossom. The features were rigid, like a mask, but impressive and full of secret life. As I sat before the finished sketch, it made a peculiar impression on me. It seemed to me a sort of picture of a god or of a sacred mask, half man, half woman, ageless, the expression being at once dreamy and strong-willed, stiff and yet secretly active. Alive. Not active. Where did I get active from? Alive. This face seemed to have something to say to me. It belonged to me. Its look was rather imperative, as if requiring something of me, and there was a certain resemblance to someone or other, to whom I knew not. The picture played an important role for a while, sharing my thoughts and my life. I kept it concealed in a drawer, in order that one should not get possession of it and so be able to sneer at me. But as soon as I found myself alone in my little room, I took out the picture and communed with it. Each evening, I pinned it onto the wall over against my bed, and oh my god, and gazed at it until I dropped off to sleep. In the morning, it was the first object of which met my gaze. Just at the time, I began again to dream a great deal, as I had consistently done when a child. It seemed to me that for years, I had no more dreams. Glazed on it. No! Don't say that! Don't say he glazed on it! That's not good. That's bad. He didn't glaze on anything. No. It seemed to me that for years, I had no more dreams. Now they came again. Quite a new kind of pictures, and often the painted image appeared therein, living and speaking, friendly or inimical, with the features sometimes twisted into a grimace, sometimes infinitely beautiful, harmonious, and noble. The glazing never ends. It doesn't. It never does. And one morning, as I woke out of such a dream, I suddenly realized who was the original of the picture. I recognized it. It gazed at me in such a fabulously well-known way, and seemed to be calling my name. It seemed to know me, like a mother, seemed to love me as if since the beginning of time. With beating heart I stared at the paper, at the thick brown hair, at the half-womanly mouth, the strong forehead with the wonderful brightness, that had dried that way of itself, and more I felt in me the knowledge, the certainty of having somewhere met the original of the picture. I sprang out of bed, placed myself in front of the face, and gazed at it from the closest proximity, straight into the wide-open, greenish, staring eyes, the right eye somewhat higher than the other. And all at once this right eye twitched perceptibly, but still decidedly, and from this twitching I recognized the picture. How was it that I had found it so late? It was Damian's face. Later, I often compared the picture with Damian's real features, as they had remained in my memory. They were not quite the same, although there was a resemblance, but it was Damian, nevertheless. Bro subconsciously painted his childhood crush, is what I'm getting from this. Oh, Sinclair. Oh, Sinclair. You're never beating the allegation, Sinclair. Once, on an evening in early summer, the red sun shone obliquely through my window, which looked towards the west. In the room, the dusk was gathering. I suddenly had the idea of pinning the picture of Beatrice, or of Damian, to the crossbar of the window and of gazing at it, while the evening sun was shining through. The whole outline of the face disappeared, but the reddish ringed eyes, the brightness of the forehead, and the strong red mouth glowed deeply and wildly from the surface of the paper. I sat opposite it for a long time, even after the light had died away, and by degrees the feeling came to me that this was not Beatrice or Damian, but myself. The picture did not resemble me. It was not meant to, I felt, but there was that in it which seemed to be made up of life, something of my inner self, or my phantom or my demon. My friend would look like that, if I ever found another. My mistress would look like that, if I ever had one. My life and death would be like that. It had the ring and rhythm of my fate. In those weeks, I had begun to read a book which made a deeper impression on me than anything I had read before. Even in later years, I have seldom chanced upon books which made such a strong appeal to me, except perhaps those of Nietzsche. It was a volume of novellas, containing letters and apothegms? Oh my god. God damn, Sinclair, I didn't know you were down bad like that. I know! It's so bad. It's so bad, Sinclair. Like, how do you subconsciously draw the person you love? Like, sorry. How do you subconsciously draw, like, this random guy who you rarely thought about in your times of alcoholism? Do you ever pin down a painting you made in private of someone in your room? No. Because who does that? Sinclair, apparently. There was much that I did not understand, but the book captivated me and occupied my thoughts to an extraordinary degree. One of the aphorisms now occurred to me. I wrote it with a pen under the picture. Fate and soul are the terms of one conception. That I now understand. I frequently used to meet the girl I called Beatrice. I felt no emotion on seeing her, but I was often sensible of a harmony of sentiment which seemed to say, we are connected, or rather, not you and I, but your picture and I. You are a part of my destiny. Going downwards. She was a girl I knew had aphantasia, can draw her crush from her. She was a girl kisser, by the way. That's so cute. I love that for her. Hi, hello! Welcome in the salty sandwich. We are slowly getting to the end of the book. Not the book, the chapter of today. So far, Sinclair has gone through alcoholism, and he has gotten out of alcoholism through the powers of his affection for Max Damian. Affection is one way to put it. That's me projecting. Him calling it Beatrice just sounds like denial at this point. It kind of does, doesn't it? Unless he's talking about, like, the copy of Beatrice. I think he's talking about the copy of Beatrice. Let me, like, adjust how I'm sitting. I made the chair a little bit taller, so I don't need to like actually like lean into the microphone. Yeah, another bedtime story of yaoi. There's so much yaoi in this chapter, guys. This chapter is just so yaoi-ful. So yaoi-ful. Okay. My longing for Max Damian was again eager. I had no news of him for several years. On one occasion, only I had met him on the holidays. I see now that I have failed to mention this short meeting in my narrative, and I see that this was owing to shame and self-conceit on my part. I must make up for it now. So then, once at the holidays, I was parading my somewhat tired, blasé self through the town. As I was sauntering along, swinging my stick and examining the old, unchanged features of the bourgeois Philistines whom I despised, I met my one-time friend. Scarcely had I caught sight of him when I started involuntarily. With lightning rapidity, my thoughts were carried back to Frank Cromer. I hoped and prayed Damian had really forgotten the story. It was so disagreeable to be under this obligation to him, simply owing to a silly, childish affair. Still, I was under an obligation. He seemed to be waiting to see whether I would greet him. I did, as calmly as possible under the circumstances, and he gave me his hand. That was indeed his old handshake. So strong, warm, and yet cool, so manly. Okay, man. Whatever you say. It's an interesting thing to say about a handshake. Interesting that he's so enthusiastic about it. Do you think if anyone were to ask about the painting, he would call it Beatrice a lot? Yeah, this is a painting I call Beatrice. I like staring at it a lot because Beatrice is very beautiful. Maybe. Maybe. He probably... I don't know if anyone... This is assuming if anyone were to see it. I don't know. He probably would just be like, oh, that's just a painting I did. It's cool, I guess. He'd be... I don't know if he would be all tuned in about it. I feel like I would be all, like, tuned in about it. He looked me attentively in the face and said, "You've grown a lot, Sinclair." He himself seemed quite unchanged, just as old, just as young as ever. He proposed we should go for a walk, and we talked of secondary matters, not of the past. I remember that I had written to him several times, without having received an answer. I hoped he had forgotten this as well, those silly, silly letters. He made no mention of them. At that time, there was no Beatrice and no picture. I was still in the period of my dissipation. Outside the town, I invited him to come with me into an inn. He came. With much ostentation, I ordered a bottle of wine and filled a couple of glasses. I clinked glasses with him, showing him how conservative I was with student drinking customs, and I emptied my first glass at a gulp. "Do you frequent public houses often?" he asked me. "Oh yes," I said with a drawl. "What else is there to do? It's certainly more amusing than anything else after all." "You think so? Perhaps. It may be so. There's certainly something very pleasing about it. Intoxication, bacchanalian... Am I saying that right? Bacchanalian orgies? But I find with most people who frequent public houses, this sense of abandon is lost. It seems to me there is something typically Philistine, bourgeois, in the public house habit. Of course, for just one night, with burning torches, to have a proper orgy and drunken revel, but to do the same thing over and over again, drinking one glass after another. That's hardly the real thing. Can you imagine Faust sitting evening after evening drinking at the same table? Faust? Faust mention? Ayo? Silly, what did you write there, Sinclair? Oh, you know, typical things like, "I love you, Max Damien. Please, 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 please let me raise you up. Please, 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 please." Just, you know, normal things. He definitely wrote that word for word, exactly what I just said. Faust. Yeah, Faust was, like, cited a lot in like 1900 literature, like, a lot. Sinclair, please, 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 please. That's exactly what he wrote. That's exactly what he wrote down, word for word, exactly like that, exactly formatted like a comment on YouTube. Exactly. Yep. I drank and looked at him with some enmity. "Yes, but everyone isn't a Faust," I said curtly. He looked at me with a somewhat surprised air. Then he laughed, in his old superior way. "What's the good of quarreling about it? In any case, the life of a toper, of a libertine, is, I imagine, more exciting than that of a blameless citizen. And then, I have read it somewhere, the life of a profligate is one of the best preparations for a mystic. There are always such people as St. Augustine, who become seers. Before, he was a sort of rake and profligate. I was distrustful and wished by no means to let him take a superior attitude towards me. So I said, with a blasé air, "Well, everyone according to his taste. I haven't the slightest intention of doing that, becoming a seer or anything." Damien flashed a glance at me from half-closed eyes. "My dear Sinclair," he said slowly, "it wasn't my intention to hurt your feelings. Besides, neither of us knows what end you drink. There is that in you which orders your life for you, and which knows why you are doing it. It is good to realize this. There is someone in us who knows everything, wills everything, does everything better than we do ourselves. But excuse me, I must go home." We did not linger over our leave-taking. I remained seated, very dejected, and emptied the bottle. I found when I got up to go that Damien had already paid for it. That made me more angry still. He already paid for it? Just like Date with Damien, the hit visual novel made by I forgot who on Twitter, but Imagine Dragons. Guys, is this an Arcane reference? Imagine Dragons? No way. No, it's not. These nuts. No! These nuts joke in 2025 is crazy. I can't believe you got us like that. I can't believe this. We really got in the year 2025. Can't believe this. I said that already, but you know, YOLO, as the kids don't say. Because I think I'm the only one who still says that. I don't even know why I started saying it again. I think it was because of Dan and Phil. I'm so serious. Like, half of my behaviorisms can be chalked up to Dan and Phil. The combo. You didn't expect two chatters to combine their power. No, I didn't. That's crazy. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. They're evolving. You guys are evolving. I'm gonna die. I saw the torch pass and I took it. Oh, imagine dragging these nuts. That's a triple. Oh my god, triple combo. No way. I didn't even notice it until you pointed it out. That's kind of really L of me. but it's okay. This little event recurred to my thoughts, which were full of Damien, and the words he had spoken in the inn came back to my mind, retaining all their old freshness and significance. It is good to know where there is one in us who knows everything. I looked at the picture hanging in the window, now quite dark. The eyes glowed still. It was Damien's look. On it was the look of the one inside me, who knows all. Oh, how I longed for Damien! I knew nothing of his whereabouts. For me, he was unattainable. I knew only that he was supposed to be studying somewhere or other, and that after the conclusion of his school career, his mother had left the town. I called up in my mind all my reminiscences of Max Damien, from the Cromer affair onwards. A great deal he had formerly said came back to me. Today, everything still had a meaning. All was of real concern to me. And what he had said at our last, not very agreeable meeting about the libertine and the saint suddenly crossed my mind. Was it not just so with me? Had I not lived in filth and drunkenness, my senses blunted by dissipation, until a new life impulse, the direct contrary of the old, awoke in me, namely the desire for purity, the longing to be sanity. With the power of two chatters, but almost as smart as one person, you guys almost had a brain cell there! Oh my god! So I went on, from reminiscence to reminiscence. Night had long since fallen, and outside it was raining. And recollection as well, I heard it rain. It was the hour under the chestnut trees when he first questioned me concerning Frank Cromer, so guessing my first secrets. One after another, these souvenirs came to mind, conversations on the way to school, the confirmation class. And then I recollected my very first meeting with Max Damien. What had we been talking about? I could not for the moment recollect, but I took my time. I thought deeply. At last I remembered. We were standing in front of our house, after he had imparted to me his opinion about Cain. Then he spoke to me about the old, almost obliterated crest which stood over the door, and the keystone which widened as it got higher. He said it interested him and that one ought not to let such things escape one's notice. That night I dreamt of Damien and of the crest. It changed perpetually. Now Damien held it in his hands. Now it was small and gray, now very large and multicolored. But he explained to me that it was always one and the same. But at last he forced me to eat the crest. As I swallowed it, I felt with terror that the bird on the crest was alive inside me. My stomach was swollen and the bird was beginning to consume me. With the fear of death upon me, I commenced to struggle. Then I woke up. I felt relieved. It was the middle of the night, and I heard the rain blowing into the room. I got up to close the window, and in doing so trod on a bright object which lay on the floor. In the morning, I found it was my painting. It was lying there in the wet and had rolled itself up. In order to dry it, I stretched it out between two sheets of blotting paper and placed it under a heavy book. When I looked at it the next day, it was dry, but it had changed. The red mouth had paled and had become smaller. Now it was exactly Damien's mouth. I now began to paint a new picture, namely that of the bird on the crest. I could not recollect any more what it really looked like, neither could I form a clear image of the whole, as even if one stood directly in front of our door, the crest was scarcely recognizable. It was so old and had several times been painted over. The bird stood or sat on something, perhaps on a flower, or on a basket of a nest, or on a treetop. It did not bother about that, and began with the part I could picture clearly. In answer to a confusing prompting, I began straight away with strong colors. On my paper, the head of the bird was golden yellow. I continued my work at intervals, which I was in the mood for it, and after a few days, the thing was completed. Oh, by the way, can you give us use of a photo of your new model and not in gallery? Can you give us a photo of your new model? It's not in the gallery. Okay, yeah, I should probably do that. I will do that, like, after stream. Yeah. Actually, in theory, I could just do it now. Okay. Upload a file. Where is it? Okay. Hi. Here's the second model and its fullness. Yay. There we go. I did it just now. Just so I remember to actually do it. How far are we along in this? We just hit page 113. Oh, we're literally right there. That's so funny. Now it was a bird of prey, with a sharp, bold hawk's head. Hawks? No, sorry. The lower half of the body was fixed in a dark terrestrial globe, out of which it was working to escape, as if out of a giant egg. The background was sky blue. The longer I gazed at the sheet, the more it seemed to me this was the colored crest which I had visualized in my dream. It would not have been possible for me to have written a letter to Damien, even if I had known where to send it. But I decided, acting under a suggestion which came to me in a dreamy sort of way, as under all my promptings of that period, to send him the picture with the hawk, whether it would reach him or not. I wrote nothing thereon, not even my name. I carefully cut the border, bought a large paper cover, and wrote on it my friend's former address. Then I sent it off. The approach of an examination caused me to work harder than usual in school. The masters had again received me into grace, since I had suddenly changed my vile conduct. I was not, even now, by any means a good pupil. But neither I nor anyone else seemed to remember that, half a year before, my expulsion from the school had been imminent. My father now wrote to me as formerly, adopting his old cheerful tone, without reproaches or threats. Yet I had no impulse to explain to him or anyone how the change was brought about. It was merely chance that this change coincided with the wishes of my parents and the masters. It did not bring me into closer contact with the others, but isolated me still more. I myself was ignorant of the tendency of the change in me. It might be leading me to Damien, to a distant fate. It had begun with Beatrice, but for some time past I had been living in quite an unreal world with my paintings and my thoughts of Damien, so that she would quite disappear from my mind, as she did from my view. I should not have been able to say a word to anyone of my dreams, of my expectations, of the inner change realized in me, not even if I had wished to do so, but I had not the faintest desire to broach the subject. Yay! Chapter 5! The bird fights its way out of the egg! We're almost there, guys! Okay. Oh, how cute. My girlfriend art commission will be in your old model because it was the only photo in your gallery. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. We finished it. We got to chapter 5. How long is chapter 5? 1:15 to... It's quite the long chapter. No, it's not. They're all roughly the same size. So yeah, chapter 5 is around 23 pages, so it shouldn't be too long to get through. I think it might actually be shorter than the one we just read right now. Yeah. Whoa, I just got here. That's so awkward. We just finished the chapter. Can't stay but popping in to say hi. Think stream's ending anyway. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we quite literally just finished chapter 4. Chapter 5 we'll do next week, and hopefully it'll be a fun week, question mark. Let's see, I don't remember what happens in chapter 5. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't fully finish the book the first time I read it around, so, like, I do remember, like, 2 other characters who haven't been introduced yet. So, and they haven't popped up yet, so I do know that I've gotten past chapter 4. 2.0 model is the Black Silence? Oh my god, it is? That's crazy. Why am I the Black Silence? Why? Who? Why? What? Where? When? By the way, what was the 100 Baby Challenge? Okay, the 100 Baby Challenge in The Sims 4 is basically you try to have one generation of where you give birth to 100 babies with, like, not one sim, but like their entire, like, generations of sims. There's like just one family of, like, sims, and you have to have them give birth to 100 babies, and it is terrible and awful and terrible, and yet I continue to do it every once in a while just to see if I can do it. Why? Because I hate myself. Why exactly? Because I don't know. Family tree of 100 babies. Yes, exactly. It is a terrible, terrible challenge. I just woke up. Why is Ren talking about giving birth? Because of the 100 baby challenge in The Sims 4. It is a very terrible challenge, and don't ever try it, like, in The Sims. Specifically in The Sims. I'm not talking about real life. Don't worry. We're not. No one's talking about real life here. Don't ever try to give birth to 100 babies in real life. That would be terrible. Don't ever do that to yourself, please. Not that why do you know about this so much? Because I've tried to do the challenge like 1,200 million times. 1,200 million times, like, in the past. That would be easy. Just go to a sperm bank. Yeah, but, like, you'd have to get lucky. You'd have to give birth to, like, multiple kids at a time. You can't just give birth to, like, one kid at a time, because that's like 9 months, and then, like, the healing period. 1,200 million. Exactly, 1,200 million times. That's like a baby for each time. Just become Charmant. You get paid $7. Glad I'm a guy every nut. That's crazy. Paid $75 every nut. Oh man. 1,200 million. That's a lot more zeros than I thought there would be. I'm not gonna lie. Or is that 1200 million? That's a few more zeros, I think. What? Yeah, that's a little more zeros than I expected. Unless it's not? Question mark? I don't even know my what's it called? My numbers anymore. Wait, Ren, are you a guy? I am non-binary. Happy Pride Month, everyone. I was in fact born female, but yeah. I don't really think that matters considering what I identify as, but to some people it does matter, so shrug. But I don't identify with any specific gender, but yeah, I just sound like this. Happy Pride Month, yay! Party poppers. Imagine this is Irium. Yeah, imagine Happy Pride Month, we're reading DEMIAN. Sulfur, they are a wee ball. Yeah, that is my gender. My gender is wee ball. Yep. My pronouns are we and ball. Don't actually refer to me as we or ball. Please don't do that. Yeah. Water. I like how that didn't show up as an actual emoji, and it just it just shows up as like Colin shock black eye meme. Colin, that's kind of funny. Good job, guys. We made it through another chapter. Hello, the ball. Yes, I am the ball in which we ball. Yep. Happy Pride Month. We're putting Sinclair on the cross. No, sorry, Sinclair. It's not our fault. It's not our fault you were like this, Sinclair. Cause why the Norcross? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Don't put him on me. Whoa. Don't put Sinclair on me. We're not doing that today. Oh my god, my posture is so bad. You can like see, sorry, you can like see when I like reposturize myself on my model, like looking down, looking up. That's so bad, guys. My posture. Ah, someone help. Okay, we'll put Sinclair on DEMIAN. Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. Oh wait. You know what I could do? I could literally do that. Here we are on this fine morning doing this. There we go. Gamer posture. No. Anyways, always remember Renata. Here comes justice. No, I don't want to remember Apollo justice in that way. No. Never. Make Sinclair lay down on DEMIAN on the table. This is what we're doing right now. Cabedon. Is it really Cabedon? I mean, the halberd kind of makes it look like it's Cabedon. He's just kind of stuck there. Oh God's sake, X. Yeah. You know, just I'm making it worse. No, stop that. No more of that. No more of that. That's not happening. That's not a thing that's going on. That's we're gonna pretend that's look, they're back to normal. Yay. Nothing ever happened. None of that ever happened unless I can make them do it again. Here comes my Max DEMIAN Sinclair. No! No, not his Max DEMIAN. How did we get here? How did we get here? Oh my god. Okay. I guess we're gonna leave them like that, because why the hell not? Also, why is like everything cutting off? Can I see that? Let's move this over here. There we go. I didn't even notice that my stuff was getting cut off there. DEMIAN ID song. And then do and undo. Do and undo. Alternatively. I still have Chromer Pillar. There's your censor for the day. She's there to censor. Unless you can also take it as Sinclair just laying down on her back. I love sticker fun time. This is great. Censor Chromer. Censor Chromer. What do I censor Chromer with? BLBL. Censor Chromer. Censor Chromer censoring them. This is a terrible censor. This doesn't work. Hold on. Censor chroma with censored? Oh my god, I got you. Hold on. Censored Lobotomy Corporation. Where's like a good picture? They're all like GIFs or GIFs, depending on how you say it. Where's idol breaching? Idol like Love Live? Like school idol festival? Oh my god. Why is it a WebP file? Don't be a WebP file, that's cringe. Okay. Well then we do here, here, and then here, and then image, and then oopsie. There's this, there's that, and then where did I put it? Where did I put it? There we go. There's so much going on in Sticker Fun Time right now. Let's make that a little bit better. There we go. Are you Carmen in disguise? I could be. I very well could be. Who's gonna say no? Many people. Many a person. Censor with Faust Fury, Lobcore Ribbon and Faust. Then we censor Faust Fury with Faust Fury, the other one. I've got you guys. Okay. Faust Lobotomy Corporation. Can't believe we're. What are we doing today? How did we get here? How did we get here indeed? Oh, let's save this image, and then do that. Do this. Do this. Faust Yuri. Please don't distort me. I can't make any promises. Where's Faust Yuri? Faust Yuri. Oh, she just kind of took up the whole screen. That's okay. Now she's censoring all of them. If Rena is Carmen, does that make Reginald Ayin? It very well could be. Very well could be. Sinclair has say guests with Damian being censored by Cromer, being censored by Censor, being censored by Faust Yuri. This is a lot. Faust jump scare. She just kind of took up the entire screen. And now, look at this mess going on below me. Like, that's crazy, guys. Like, you would never guess what's behind this. They're also censoring my book, which is also censoring me. There's a lot of censoring going on here. Stop censorship today at www.stopcensorship.com. We should censor Faust Yuri with Don X Teaching Yuri. We should, guys. Who wants to drop Don X Teaching Yuri today for censoring Faust? Me? Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. It's okay. We can. You know what? We can draw it right now. Just kidding. We've kind of gone way past the time I was supposed to end, which is okay. That's not like terrible. That's okay. Where's my painting program? We're gonna draw John X Chichin Yuri right now. Right now, okay? Okay guys. Okay guys. Where's here, and then here. Okay. Don X Chichin Yuri, guys. Don X Chichin Yuri. I don't want to use other people's fan art just because I don't want to you know, get in trouble. So we're gonna make our own fan art right now. First we draw the background, then we draw Shichun. She looks like this, right? She's like, wait, hold on, let me make another layer. That's how you know we're getting really into it. She looks like that, and then she has like bangs, right? That sounds familiar. And then she has like this, and then like that. So actually, I should just look up a picture of her. I have the means to do that. Shichun. Okay, yeah, she has bangs, and then, but her bangs don't look like that. Her bangs are more like that, and then that, and then that, and then here, and then here. She's kind of looking like me right now. I'm not gonna lie. And then she has like these like red things. And then she has her little buns. And then she has a face. And she has hair. She's got the Miku twin tails. And then she is red down here. And she's got them white streaks. Yeah. We did it, guys. We drew Shichun. Do you guys like my Shichun fan art? I can't believe Rena died, so Reginald created the machine, Roll Angela, who went out to create the Library of Pross. This Reginald lore gets intense, guys. This is crazy. Shichun. Look guys, it's Shichun. And now we create Sancho. And now we can create Sancho. Sancho is like blonde, right? That's a bit orange. There we go. Okay, how do I... Okay, so we create Sancho. She looks like that. Oh wait, I forgot the eyes. How dare! Oh wait, no, her eyes are also yellow, but they're like a darker yellow. And then we do this, and then this, and then this, and then... Yes, this is exactly what the people want. Yes, this is great. This is wonderful. And then they're like the same height, but I guess for all intents and purposes they are not. There we go. And then we gotta give her the coat. This is the coat. And then there's this, and then there's this. She just kind of looks like she's wearing a harness now. That's kind of not good. Let's color this in, and then we'll give her that tie. You know? Yay! This is okay. And then we merge these together, and then here's them kissing. Yay! They're kissing. Yay! Yay! This is Shichun cabadoning Don Quixote against the wall. Guys, we did it. We drew Yuri. Add a cartoonish heart between them above their heads. You right. Hold on. It gets to be bright red like Shichun. Where's... Yay! We did it. We drew Yuri. Yuri in our yaoi stream. Should I write a Rena fanfic chat? My last fanfic had over 100k views. I regret writing it. It was so badly written. You could. What would the fanfic even be about, bro? Crone chat rediscovers the joy of playing with dolls. No! Sticker fun time and this. We're just drawing and painting. We are no different from Sinclair. We are drawing and painting, and we are having a wonderful time. Alas, the wonderful time must come to an end. Okay, guys. Hold on. Let's move all of them into the center. Let's do this. And then okay. Where's Yuri? There we go. This is great. About how Rena distorts you personally. That should be the fanfic. Oh my god. Write that on my reader account. Oh god. I'm so scared for this fanfic. I still need to finish my Rena X Reader fanfic for Irium. No, I don't want to be distorted. Too bad. We're all getting distorted up in here. I can't believe we made Yuri in real time. Hold on. We should make Shichun a little more accurate. If we're gonna give Dawn a tie, then Shichun should get like her sleeves, you know? There we go. Yuri, real. Actually, it's kind of inaccurate anyways. Hold on. She looks more like this. And then like that. Yeah. Yeah. And then let's like fix this up. There we go. We made our Shichun Dawn Yuri. There we go. This is beautiful. Alright, I gotta sleep. Have a nice day, fellas. That also should be our time to end stream. Make Ishmael watch from the side with Shichun ID. Oh my god. Okay, fine. We'll do this one last thing and then we'll for real end. Trust. Okay. How do we... What even are the color of Ishmael's eyes? They're like... gray? I don't even know, bruh. Let's put her over here. She's watching from the sidelines. Her hair looks kind of like this. And then she has also the buns. The buns. She's kind of bigger than everyone else, but that's okay. Who said she has to be the same size as everyone else? She's just built different. And then we do that. Repick this color. And then these are her braids. And then this is so Ishmael. Yay. Fill this in. Redo this. Redo that. There we go. Ishmael watching from the side. This is great. I was listening to Iron Lotus by Millie. Do you have any thoughts? My thoughts are I'm covering it. Can we get this art posted in the Discord? Yeah, man. Don't worry, I got you. And I got you, bro. Okay. Export JPEG. Can you guys see my thing? No, you can't. Okay, that's good. That's always a relief. Pictures. Yuri. There we go. Oh wait, you're covering. Yeah, I still need to finish the actual cover itself, but it's literally almost done. I just gotta finish literally the last part. But otherwise, we're getting there. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna hide that. Okay. We're gonna end, but for real this time. I'm speaking slowly so I can stare at my mouth tracking because I like my mouth tracking. Okay. Yeah, we are ending. Next stream is going to be more Sims 4 on Wednesday. No, wait, why? What are we waiting for? You had 20 minutes. Speak now or forever hold your peace, guys. I'm gonna stretch. We need to stop until 3 AM. No, you can't leave me. I still love you. Okay, we're gonna end. Yeah, we're gonna end. Let's see. I think. Actually, wait. What are we waiting for? The Sims 4. I hate children. Hello? Oh my god, someone came in the last minute. I do. Actually, wait. I do have one regret. That day before you left me, you're my everything. Before my thoughts began to speak. Da 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 da. Sorry. Okay. On the topic of Iron Lotus. Okay. We are for real going to end. Okay? We gotta end at some point. This is just like Irium, guys. I say I'm gonna end and then people come in. Homer is his hostage. They can't end while Ro is still in you. No, it's okay. It's okay. We're not gonna hold people hostage. That's bad. Yeah. Let's see. Do I have any announcements? I don't really have announcements. Irium will be later on at will be later on at 8:30 as per usual. Yeah. Here because I have no Irium. I need to catch you here because I have no Irium. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Sorry, it's US only. Anyways, you can ignore what Neko is saying. Just yeah, don't worry about it. We're ending the stream right now. I for real don't have any announcements. Yeah. Next DEMIAN stream will be probably next week at the same time, just because it's convenient to have it always on Mondays. Yeah. What is the game name? We're not playing any sort of game. We're just reading. We were reading a book earlier. It was... Ignore the Yuri, sorry. It was DEMIAN by Herman Hesse. Why is it so tiny? There we go. Can't wait for Health Screen next week. Health Screen is this week. Health Screen is Friday. It is in 4 days from now. That's crazy. But like, yeah. I have nothing else to say, but yeah. What are we doing, guys? Are we ending? We ending? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed to ending? Because we should probably end soon. Oh no, my daughter. No. Okay. So, well, your opinion doesn't matter because we're gonna end right now. See you guys later. Bye!